Shalom, my friends. Welcome to this week's word study, where we're going to be talking about the name of this character we all know as Satan, Hashatan. And I've said in quite a number of videos at this point that, God is actually the short version of Satan's actual name, GODREEL. And I've never, I pointed it out in my study on the book of Enoch. Got a full study on this book where I read cover to cover. But I thought I would do a video and show you exactly where that name is shown to us as unquestionably the name of Satan. First, in the book of John, that's Yochanan, chapter 8, verse 44, says that Satan has nothing to do with truth because there is no truth in him, and that when he lies, he does what is natural to him because he is a liar. He is the father of lies and of all that is false. It's quite a statement. Revelation, that's the book of Chazon, chapter 12, verse 9 says that Satan is the deceiver of the whole world. 2 Thessalonians, that's Thessalonikim 2, chapter 2, verse 9 says that the coming of the lawless one, this guy we call the Antichrist, happens through the activity and the workings of Satan. Again, in the book of John, Yochanan, chapter 16, verse 11, calls him the ruler of this world. That means he's in charge of the things of this world. All the activities in the world that are worldly activities, he's got a grip on. He has control over. When I was just a boy, I thought Satan was his name. Later, I learned that Satan was just a title, meaning the accuser or prosecuting attorney. You can see Satan playing out that role in the book of Job. That's Yov, chapter 1, verses 6 through 12. Now here we see the odiote for Satan. That is Shin Tet Nun. Shin, one who separates the good seed from the bad seed. Nun, the two outside odiote. The heart of the word is tet. It's a basket. It means that he separates separates the seeds puts them in his basket in the interest of making them all bad seeds. The seed of the serpent. There are only two seeds in the entire world, my friends. The good seed, Yeshua. The bad seed, Satan. Well then, later on I thought his name was Lucifer. This is thanks to the poor interpretation given to us by the King James Version of the Bible. But Lucifer, as presented by the King James Version in Isaiah, Yeshayahu, chapter 14, verse 12, it's an absolute error. In Isaiah 14:12, the King James Version reads, "How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning?" But where we see Lucifer in the King James English, the original Aramaic Hebrew says Halel, which literally means crescent moon, the symbol of Islam. And where it says son of the morning, the original Aramaic Hebrew says Bain Yalal, which really means son of the howling, yelling, or boisterous one. Years ago, I thought his name had been stripped from him, like he was demoted by Yahweh and just had no name at all that was to be remembered. But as my studies in the Word grew, I came to realize that he had splattered various descriptive titles of himself, and most of all his very own name, all over the Father's Word. And in all the places where he had the Father's and the Son's names removed. Lord became the second biggest offense because Lord is the English way of saying Baal. Look at Jeremiah, Yirmiyahu, chapter 23, verses 26 and 27. Quote, "How long shall this state of things continue?" Yahweh is speaking. "How long yet shall it be in the minds of the prophets who prophesy falsehood, even the prophets of the deceit of their own hearts, who think that they can cause my people to forget my name by their dreams which every man tells to his neighbor, just as their fathers forgot my name for Baal." Isn't it interesting how the English versions don't change the original Aramaic Hebrew of Baal into English? If they did, it would be Lord. The Father would be saying, just as their fathers forgot my name, Yahweh, for Lord. Baal was the name of the supreme God worshipped in ancient Canaan, and Phoenicia. The practice of Baal worship infiltrated Jewish religious life during the time of the Judges. You can look at the book of Judges, chapter 3, verse 7. And it became widespread in Israel during the reign of Ahab. Look at 1 Kings, chapter 16, verses 31 through 33. And it also affected Judah, Yahudah. Look at 2 Chronicles, chapter 28, verses 1 and 2. The Canaanites worshipped Baal as the sun god. He's usually depicted holding a lightning bolt. Baal worship was rooted in sensuality and involved ritualistic prostitution in the temples. That always, struck me as like, who would allow that? But it was very common. At times, appeasing Baal required human sacrifice, usually the firstborn of the one making the sacrifice. You can see that in Jeremiah, Yirmiyahu, chapter 19, verse 5. And, by the way, the Christmas Yule log is a carryover representing the sacrificing of babies by fire to Tammuz. Back to Isaiah chapter 14. You remember Bain Yalal, which means son of the howling, yelling, or boisterous one? The priests of Baal appealed to their god in rituals of wild abandon, which included loud, ecstatic cries and self-inflicted injury. You can see that in 1 Kings chapter 18, verse 28. Loud, ecstatic cries, self-inflicted injury, rituals of wild abandon. Bain Yalal, son of the howling, yelling, or boisterous one. Now, in Matthew chapter 12, verse 27, that's Matith Yahu, Yeshua calls Satan Beelzebub, linking the devil to Baal-zebub, a Philistine deity. You can see in 2 Kings chapter 1, verse 2. The Baalim of the first covenant books were nothing more than demons masquerading as gods. All idolatry is ultimately devil worship. Look at 1 Corinthians. That's Corinthians 1, chapter 10, verse 20. Baal is usually seen as a goat-headed demon holding a baby. Anyway, it wasn't until I read the Hallelujah Scriptures version of the book of Enoch that I discovered Satan's name recorded in the Word. Now, long ago, I heard about the book of Enoch, and I had this copy. This is the one that's been out there for a long time. And people would ask me about the book of Enoch, and I just thought it was so bizarre. I always told them, I believe the book of Enoch is the inspired word primarily because it's quoted in the book of Jude. And Jude, we know, is an inspired work, and an inspired work would not quote a wicked book. So I knew that this is the inspired work. Also because it was found with the Dead Sea Scrolls, and all of the books that were found in the Dead Sea Scrolls, I believe, are inspired. Books like Jubilees, Yovelim, Maccabees, Maccabim, and so on. However, don't kid yourself, or don't confuse books like that with these books that are known as the Gnostic Gospels, like the Gospel of Thomas, the Gospel of Mary. All the Gnostic Gospels were written somewhere around 300 A.D., 300 years after Yeshua left the earth, and they are all doctrines of demons. They're all full of falsehoods. And by the way, the book of Enoch, actually it's Hanoch, is quoted in the book of Jude. You can see that in verses 14 and 15. Anyway, in this publication, if you look at page 64, and you look at number 6, it's talking about the different fallen angels and Satan's secret oath. Anyway, number 6 says, and the third named GODREEL. He it is who showed the children of men all the blows of death, and he led astray Eve, and so on. I mean, you can't get that one mixed up. We know who led Eve astray. Her name is actually Hawa. Now, when I got the Hallelujah Scriptures copy, and I don't think I finished telling you, people would ask me, what about this book? And I would say, I believe it's the inspired word, but you shouldn't read it until you really have a firm foundation in the canon, Genesis through Revelation. Because it seemed so odd, so bizarre. The way that this publication presents it, I don't know. I haven't taken the time to look into it as to why it's so strange, and I won't bother because I don't like wasting my time on things when I could be spending my time in the right things. But when I got the copy of Enoch from the Hallelujah Scriptures, and you can get a copy. The link to Hallelujah Scriptures is in the More Info section below this video. You can go over there. You'll see it. When I got this one, I was amazed. I was like, what's going on, man? This isn't weird. I don't know. Anyway, the way they put it together is it's just perfect, And And you read it and you know it's the Father's word. Anyway, in this publication, you go to page 25, and you look at chapter 69, verse 6. It says, "And the third was named GODREEL. It is he who showed the children of men all the smitings of death, and he led astray Hawa." That's Eve's true name. Led astray Hawa in the garden. His name is GODREEL. Now here you can see the Hallelujah Scriptures presentation of the book of Enoch. And it's there, chapter 68. You go over to verse 6, and you can see the third was named GODREEL. Now, a Western way of thinking, generally you would say GADREEL, or GADREEL, the way it's spelled. But, back in those days, ancient times, the A is always pronounced Ah. So it's GODREEL. Just so that you understand, if you look at it now, he says, the short is God. Really, it's GAD. No, the A is pronounced Ah, as is in all of my teachings with the Odiot. We always say Adonai, not Adonai. So I just wanted to interject this so that you understand that. So now you know. This is the only place his name has ever been recorded in the Father's Word. I'm sure, he's the crafty one, He's hidden it, but maybe he ignored the book of Enoch, because nobody's going to read that one, Anyway, there it is. At the close of this video, you'll see another link, the Master of Disguise. If you haven't watched that video, that's a lot of good information for you about Satan, how he operates. So, the biggest offense of all is the name God, which absolutely everyone on the planet uses as a reference to our beloved Abba Father, the creator of the heavens and the earth. That is, until very recently. Hallelujah. And Abba Father knows everyone's hearts, so don't feel bad about having called him and his son all these false titles. We've all done it. We didn't know any better. Just talk to him about it and ask him to help you to change your habits. It's a hard habit to break. But now that you do know the truth, God is referring to Satan. It is not referring to the Father. And even, if we refer to the Father that way, that's not something that's going to make him happy. God is short for GODREEL, Satan's true name. So, like I said, just talk to him about it. Don't feel bad, about calling, him Lord or God. Like I said, we've all done it. Just pray and ask him to help you change these habits. It takes a little time, but I've done it. It took time. And, again, also, when you're talking to other people who don't know these things, you have to talk to them about God and Jesus. You don't want to confuse them. You don't want to set them off. You don't want to alienate them. You want to make a good presentation. So when I talk to people who have no idea of the Father's name, I'll talk to them, and I'll say, God this and Jesus that. And if they show an interest, I'll go, by the way, his name isn't God. Do you know what his name is? Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy what? His name. They always go, what? Do you know his name? Well, isn't it God, Lord, Jehovah? Please. But that's an opportunity to teach. if they don't show an interest, you don't go there. They're not being called. They won't hear. They won't see. They won't understand. So anyway, that's our study for this week, my friends. As always, I hope and I pray that this study is a beracha to you and yours. Abba willing, I'll see you here next week. And until then, shalom, my friends.
Now 2,000 years have gone by, it's another working day. Some would rather let it lie, but the question still remains.